Hey, hello everybody. Let's fix that camera a little bit there. So we are here with Bailey. This is part of our externship
Yeah.
program with the BAC, and we're going to be showing her how to do the first thing we do before we go measure a project. So as you know, we have a four-step process. Um, Step one, existing. Step two, define. Step three, design, and step four, document. So before we do step one, we do some prep work. The prep work is really generating a base so that when we go to measure, we don't necessarily waste a whole lot of time measuring on site, sketching and measuring on site. We're still gonna have to sketch. There's no question about it. But at least we want to have a nice base. And I'll tell you the reasons. There are many. One, sometimes we have to go measure sites when it's 10 degrees outside. We don't want to spend too much time outside, right? So we rather do a quick massing, get some general information right so that we reduce site work time. And it's more comfortable and warm in here to do it, right? Two, we want to get an understanding of the building we're going to measure before we go. In general, it's just like feeling it out, getting a sense for what am I up against, right? Like what are the challenges? What are we gonna have to deal with? And that helps a ton. And three is efficiency. In general, it's just efficiency. So we go and we have our tape measure ready, we have a base drawing ready, printed, we have a clipboard ready, which is part of the prep work we're gonna show you later. And all of that's ready for the day of measuring so that when we come here, everything's already printed. Has it happened to you that the day you have a deadline, the printer is broken, nothing works? So we like to have that ready before we go, early before we go. So that said, I'm sharing here my screen, and we're gonna go through the process of creating that first massing. A lot of really good and important decisions have to be made. This is really critical, regardless of whether you're gonna be working on this project or somebody else gonna be working on this project. Whoever works on it will inherit your mistakes, if you have any, but will also inherit your benefits if you've done something correct, right? So that's gonna be very helpful. So in that sense, the first thing that I like people to be able to do is to set up the massing the proper way with the Revit template. We go to new, right? And here's this construction template, project template. We are going to go through as a project, but we're going to browse our template. Okay, so we go through the browse part. And one thing I do a lot, and I want people to do a lot, is in general, I try to be very, very efficient. Very efficient. Efficiency is what's the quickest way to get from point A to point B. That's really all, right? So I'm like, well, how am I gonna browse through search and projects? I've been very crazy about shortcuts. I'm crazy about finding paths. So I don't want you to go one by one and try. No. You can find the project, which everybody has access to, and here's our template for the project. All of our folders have it. I always delete this backup because it creates many backups. But you simply copy this path, which you already have, and you paste it right here and click enter, and it will bring you right into your template. So you don't have to go desktop, project, file. I actually determine how seasoned somebody is, how smart somebody is. And sorry, it sounds like a little aloof or condescending, but really how, I don't know, like efficient in general that person is by how many shortcuts they use to achieve the same result that somebody else will take twice the amount of time. So and that works across the board because we value time. Time is money. So that person therefore probably will make more money than a person that takes twice the same amount of time to do the same thing. Right? So, and it doesn't matter. Like, it could be a person that just started working for the very first time, and I see these little shortcuts, and I see that they're able to do those things, and I immediately will appraise them differently. I'm like, well, why? Because they deliver. It's all about results, right? So that's that. We go here, we do open, and then it prompts you to be on this thing right here. We do okay, and now it opens the template as a project. It will not override it. Before we had the option of template or project. Now it's a project. So now it's setting it up as a project, not as a template. They're different things, right? So there are limitations. I've had people work on a template as a template and do a whole project in it, and they haven't noticed the limitations that has, but it does have limitations. It's just that they haven't gotten that advanced to even be able to notice them, right? So, like if you're doing a deck, I would never recommend it. Actually, I would never recommend it. If you're doing something very simple and it happens, it's no big deal. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, whatever. So I'm not gonna be too mad about it. But I do want people to know how to open the template as a project. All right. So that's the first thing. This is the first thing you see. You're like, what is this? Right? Don't get overwhelmed. This is like, I like to say that this template is almost like when you have any app. Like when you open the app, they're always trying to show you your starter's kit. Like, here's what you've got to work with, right? Here's a sample. So this is your starter's kit right here. So this has different types of tubs, right? Different types of stairs, different types of outdoor furniture. Your starter's kit, right? I recommend people to delete it. It's just we always just show this, and this is the first window that opens because we want people to know what they have available to them as a resource. And we try to upgrade it, update it, and be able to do more things. And it's like, well, now we got a car, we got a truck, we got something, right? So things like that, we want to make sure that we show it. All right. So that's the case there. So I typically just delete it. Okay, I'm aware, looks great, thank you. Right? We delete it. I really delete all of those things that I don't know if I'm gonna use or not. But generally, I like to just maintain what I know I'm going to need. And this brings another point. Before you did this with me, I had you read the proposal, right? The proposal is the contract that binds us legally with this client to deliver something. And I always explain more than what I need to because I'm a teacher by default, so I like teaching. So, but also because I don't want to leave any gaps. So everything is tied together from the moment I meet a person, hi, how you doing, right? To when I deliver their product, their service, right? I tie it all together. So when you're opening this template, and this goes into what I said of what whoever works in this will inherit that. So you already read the contract. So we're supposed to deliver X, Y, and Z. Well, if this starter's kit happens to have a garage, and we're not doing a garage, we will delete that. You're like, no, I don't need that. So if this starter's kit happens to have an attic, you don't need it. You're not going to do that, right? So you will appropriate, I guess, the model to what it is that you're going to be working with. On that sense, you start deleting that. So also another thing that you got to see was that I record all of my initial consultation. So that's step 0. So we're right in the middle between step 0, which is initial consultation. Hi, how you doing? Let's take a look at your project. I write a contract. We get assigned. We get a deposit. That's a prerequisite to do this. Nobody does this unless a signed contract has been provided and a deposit has been provided. So you're clear to go. It's all clear.
And when do you do the zoning?
Great. So the zoning analysis comes after, right? Right after, right? So we do the massing, and that could actually be done in tandem, parallel to this. So and we'll get to that in a minute. So this is all part of the existing conditions, but I guess that's I don't even know my own 4 steps. So define, envision, right? So it's defined. So you're defining the boundaries, the constraints, the opportunity. You're defining all of that as it is. And a reality of a property is that it was born in a district. It was born in a zoning, right? Just like you were born in a state that has laws and regulations. So you got, So we'll get to that table of the definition of that later on. But now all I need is a clean and accurate in the way that it looks and the way that it is generally massing, so that we can then make it real accurate by measuring it all and drafting it all as it is, right? So I recommend people to delete all the extras. Again, get rid of all the extras. And get it as clean as possible. This is a very good actually box, in the sense that walls are where they're supposed to go in relationship to foundations, in relationships to footings, floors are in the way that they're supposed to go. So if you manipulate this model, things do have a relationship with it, like how they align. And later on that gets fine-tuned, but it's like if you want to cut a section through this didn't make sense. It's not like just they're not randomly sitting, right? So they make sense. Generally they try to make sense. So that's the first thing I do. Like, okay, I clean that up, great. Then I'm gonna bring a good friend of mine, is the project browser. The project browser has already been established to have existing first floor, existing second floor, demolition, and proposed, which are the things that we care about. We want to know what's existing, what's going to be demoed, and what's going to be added. So if you are to be updating this right now, you are going to update it under the existing. That's a phase. I don't know how much you know about phases, but then I'm going to bring our good friend, the properties bar. Properties bar tells us what's happening now. Literally, it's just finding whatever you have. Like, oh, this is a 3D view. That's what's happening now. I select a wall. Oh, that's a wall. What's happening now, right? So you just call it's my status, like my status bar, right? Like it's like, what am I looking at, and things like that. All right. So that's exactly what's going on there. So, so those two work together, hand by hand. So when you select a view, it will tell you, oh, what's happening on that view? What is it? And at the very bottom is, to me, one of the most important concepts to understand in Revit: phasing. Phasing is super, super, super important. And I'll tell you why in a second. All right, so phasing. We took a little pause for a second to breathe, but all good. It's because it's important. So phasing tells you what's happening in this time. And I get very geeky about it. It's really what happened yesterday, what's happening tomorrow, what will happen the day after tomorrow. So if you draw something in the wrong reality, for that matter, it will cause trouble. It will cause a lot of trouble. So I want to make sure that people draw things on the phase where they belong, meaning existing conditions. That's why as soon as I click on the existing, you're going to say that it says phase existing. Existing. Demo will be, when does demo happen? Well, it doesn't happen on the existing. It will happen in the future, but it's happening to the existing, which is the previous. So this is a real, funny concept to grasp. But once people get it, it makes everything easy. It makes everything easy. So that one, I've been teaching Revit for a very long time, and it takes weeks sometimes for people to get it. Very, very. But we've done it for you. It's already done, right? It's a kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because then people don't understand it because they never have to make it. So but here it is. So you're gonna notice that the basement right now on those 0, 0, all the zeros are existing, all the ones are new, demo, all the twos are proposed, right? How they begin. So and you see the difference. So here we have existing. Then we have new construction show previous plus demo. Then we have new construction shows previous plus new. So the proposed is showing what's new. Like I am adding a room to this, but it's also showing the rest of the room, what's existing there, what has been there. But it's taken away what's already been demoed. That makes sense. So and I will show you a little bit more about it, right? So it's gonna make more sense. So but that's what it's doing. So if you just make sure that you go through these. Okay, face filters. Okay, so we got show complete. Yeah, what's existing? Great. Then on demo is new, but show previous, whatever existed plus what I'm taking away. And then in the new one, which is a proposed, you're gonna show what's new, but also what's from yesterday that wasn't removed. Does that make sense? So that is very, very important. That's very, very important. Okay. So, and I typically have my properties bar and my browser away. I use two screens. So I'll try to keep him here for the sake of helping, but I like him away. I like him to be away. So but so that people can see it. So that's that. So you know what your software has come with, what you have. Everybody at Flow has the same template. Every project's created equal. So we got the same things. So what do I want you to do now? Now you've set up this. I want you to save it. You're like, well, I haven't done anything. Well, you have the template right now. You got to go to File and say Save. And this is very, very important. How you name it is very, very important. How every file is named is very, very important. And I guess I'm getting old because I keep insisting that it's very, very important, right? So here's what I do. So I go back to my other folder where I had already the name of everything. And again, I'm a shortcut kind of guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this name right here, which was done correctly already. And our Revit file literally will be named project number, project address, and what we're doing. And I like people to do dash existing. And I like people to do the date, 23/2022. Right? So project name, project number, which I've already told you, begins with the year and then what project that is. So we are in project 394 of 2022. Woo-hoo. We're probably gonna end with 1,000 projects, probably. Maybe not. Maybe we'll do 800, I think. So I digress. So 64 Tucker Street is the address, and then I like to know what I'm doing. So we're doing the basement, and what is this? This model is existing. I like to record each model for each phase in relationship to our 4-step process. And we save a copy of it so that if something moves, if something happens, you're like, oh, something isn't right. Well, let's go back to the existing and see whether something got moved by mistake or something, whether there was an error. So that's very important. And we save all of the phases on the archive. Okay. Another very important topic here is that I actually just made a video on our YouTube channel. People can actually go watch it. I'm probably going to try to link it somewhere here. And it's how to get rid of 1 million backups. So sometimes Revit creates one backup after another backup. So we just go into options and make sure that this says 1. So that it doesn't keep saving 001, 002, 000. I don't know if you've seen that, but it happens. All right. And we save. That's it. And it's you notice that it wasn't save as. I just clicked on save. It already knows that it does not want to overwrite the template. Then after this, you can just delete the template. You don't need it there anymore. You've already used it for what you need, which is to create a project. It's almost like a blank piece of paper. And after you've used it, you just move on, right? So now it's saving that. And that's really, really, really critical. After that's saved, what do we do next? Well, we now prepare ourselves to actually do the massing, which is the why of everything. So the massing, as I said before, is really the boundaries that we're going to be using, generally accurate for what we're going to be measuring. So that when we go on site, we get it close. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes we have to redraw everything because the buildings as shown in Google have changed, right? Like literally they're buildings that have changed drastically from what they looked like a year ago in Google. So, but hey, nonetheless, we gotta, nevertheless, we have an option. We have something to work with. All right. So what things do you have as a resource to create this massing? So we have Google Earth. We have Bing from Windows, which is another option. Sometimes they do show different things. It's very important to be able to do both of that. We have the assessor's website from the city, whichever city they may have. We have sometimes the assessor website has a property card that has a very dummy little sketch of what the property may look like or have looked like. Why? Well, because each town and municipality likes to, well, it doesn't like, it's just part of the law. They tax people, right? So how do you tax something you don't know? So they do have dummy drawings of what that property looks like so that they can tax it appropriately. They tax you by the amount of square foot, by the amount of bedrooms, by the amount of rooms. So they do have a little assessor's card that tells people what the property looks like. And they get it updated as we update all of our drawings and we submit for permits. We help them basically update all of their databases. So that's a resource we have. What other one do we have? We have the initial consultation video that I did, because I am walking through that thing, and sometimes it's hard to actually understand it because you probably weren't there. I was there. So you're like, oh, I don't know. But it can actually corroborate or cross pollinate what you already have. It's different layers of the truth. So Google Earth gives you one layer. The video gives you another layer, which is probably the most accurate out of all of the things you're gonna see. The property card gives you another layer, and you use all of those to generate your best estimated guess, educated guess of what this property will look like. So whoever's gonna measure it goes to measure it. You may be the one measuring it, and assume you are going to be the one measuring it. But I want to make sure that people, like, you know, we don't want to be a factory line, like, you know, like you do the, whoever does the math should go measure it. But that's a skill that sometimes I need somebody to just do that, and I'm willing to pay them to just do. Listen, we got 10 projects we need masons for. Go ahead and do them, right? So that's a really, really important skill, like, and it will get you to the next step, which is very accurate existing conditions. I want people to do accurate and very well done models of existing conditions. That's a service. If they can do that, I am willing to hire somebody just to do existing conditions if they can do a very good job. That's good. Then they graduate from that and they can do the envision stage, which is mostly, you know, looking at pictures and ideas and concepts, but also the design. Because if they are able to model a reality, they can likely create a new reality. Which, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you understand how things are built already, you're likely to say, well, what if I do this with a stand? You know, what if I do that, right? So, and they say everything has been done already. So if you can map reality very well, you could probably map multiple realities and create something new. Good. I got geeky there. Please comment on the comment below. But yeah, so that's that, right? So now we're going to, you're like, how do I find all this stuff? Well, one by one. So I said that we have our video, which is, I'm going to delete the template, by the way, because we don't need the template anymore. Bye-bye. And then we're going to go back to our design, existing conditions, photos. That's where I put my initial consultation, and I'm here talking to the owners about their property. There are things you can see even without opening the video. There is a chimney in the middle. There is some changes of levels. I think people can see, like, the floors and things like that. Like, you know, there are things you can see. You're like, okay, I'll dig more into it. Then we go to our, okay, right here. So now we're gonna go to Google Earth. What's the address? The address is 64 Talker Street, Lynn, Mass. Great. Let's take a look at that. Google Earth. Great. What is this? All right, so we got this property. We got this. Which one is it? So make sure you get the right one. That's 2. That's 1. 64. Great. It's a match. 64. They have a driveway here. Okay. And okay, so the title of the project folder itself says basement. So we're gonna be worrying a whole lot about the basement, not so much about the building above. But how did you get out of the basement? You need to go up. So it's important to understand how the floor above works so that you can be able to get out. That's just really, I call that common sense. And me and Marcos always say, well, you know, we want people to use a little bit more of their common sense. Like, how do you get out? So if you just model the basement, you're going to have to sketch the floor above. Even if you don't do the entire unit above, you're going to need to know how to get out and how to show that, right? How to show the context. So I like people to understand that massing. And really, just looking at this, you know, that there is a face that has a bump out, that has a little addition here, that does this, that probably turns back, that then goes in, that has a bump out. Listen, that single line, that's helpful for me. Because I can use that when I go to measure, right? There's another bump out here. We don't know much about this, but hey, what about aerials? Do we have a way of looking at this from the sky? Satellite? That may be another layer of reality that it's important to look at. Okay, here you go. So we zoom right in and we're like, oh, look. So this shows me a reality. The ground shows me another reality, but this is the roof. people need to understand, and in design school, that's what you're gonna learn. Like things aren't just simple extrusions up; they can actually change and grow and change and grow. Like so. But this is a little bit of reality. There's some bump outs. There's some elements that you have to look at. So you take a look at that. So Google Earth is the first resource we have available to us, right? That's the first resource I want you to look. Well, it's the second besides the initial consultation video. Then we go to the next one. What's the next one? The assessor's website, right? Everybody pays taxes. Incredible that we were fighting so hard and we're talking about the tea party and throwing all the tea into the water, and still taxes are a reality we all deal with forever. So whatever we ran away from, we actually do. That's not architecture, but so we go to the assessor website, and you're like, how do I find that? Well, where is this located? It's in Massachusetts. You can say assessor's website. Simple. Google it, right? that's the first thing. So a little hint: certain areas of Massachusetts, certain places in Massachusetts have this thing called Patriots Properties, which I think is a third-party company that the municipalities hired to do the assessor's database for them. So whenever you see that, you're like, chin, 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 that's money, because I can find information relatively quickly within that portal. So I'm one of those guys that's always opening a new link tab. So I open that because I never know if the truth is going to be there. So I want to have a plan B. Plan B is, well, Lynn Assessor's office. That sounds right to me. Go there. And, that's two might do it. This looks like money to me. This is great. This looks great. This is what I want. All right. So this is for Lynn. We know we're in the right place. Make sure you know that you're in the right place, because so many people have done Salem, New Hampshire, Salem, Oregon, right? And it gets really, really confusing. Like, I've ordered pizza in the wrong place. There is actually a place like that in Oregon. So make sure you get it right. And then here you're going to say, well, what's the street? It's Tucker. Okay, what number? It's 64 Tucker. And you also corroborate. I like people to really corroborate. Don't accept anything as true. Right? So you're like, well, is this the Tucker that I'm talking about? Well, let's look at the proposal. And if the proposal said Algenis Velez Liriano, then that's right. So let's go into the proposal and make sure we get it right. And again, the people that make it really far at Flow Design and in life are the ones that do this before I look at it. As individuals, if they do things like that and I go and talk to them, I will feel like, wow, they are a blessing to me. Julio is like that. Yvonne has been like that. Many people have been like that. Like, it's like a blessing because they're doing the legwork. And the proposal is titled Mr. Algenis Velez Liriano. It looks right to me. So, ching, 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 it's a match. So we'll click it. Let's click. You can click anything. You can click. Let's click that. Sure, right. Oh, this looks beautiful to me. We see a little layout of a floor, a little picture of this, a little description of this information, even private information, like, oh, so Algenis Velez Liriano and Maria. Are they married? I don't know. You can gossip a little about it. Whatever, who cares? But you found the information, you know who they are, you know when it was appraised, which was in 2021, the last time they appraised it. Really cool stuff. And you asked me the question of, what do I know about zoning? Like, well, here you have a little tab that says zoning. Now, full disclaimer, Patriots Properties does not exist for every particular town in Massachusetts or everywhere we work. We work in Florida, New Hampshire, Maine, we're licensed there, Connecticut. It's not the same. But there will be something like it everywhere, right? There will be something like it. So it might not be as easy as this. So I like people to literally print the record card. Like, go in and say control print and save that for me. That's valuable information. And let me see how you move it. Oh, I have my picture right there, so I can't see it. Well, let's see if I can click enter. Okay. So save it and go into, this is the wrong person's information. I'm sorry. So again, or good friend or path, right? Copy, paste, and it's not going to be saved under the proposal. It's going to be saved under design, and I will put it under, yeah, you know what, you can either put it under code analysis, which is going to be part of that, or under existing conditions, and you can put it right here, or under field verification. Just you can just leave it right there too, like it's part of the existing conditions we're doing our history, you know. Okay, so I'm saving it right here. Okay, great. That looks good. I like to also sometimes zoom in and see how the quality of it, doing control and shift and rolling your little mouse allows you to zoom into things. That's really great. These are all the skills you pick up that make you so efficient. And because you're going to be needing this baby right here. The tool that Julio Gutierrez loves the most here at the office, I think, is the snipping tool. You can easily just grab that snipping tool right here. Save it as on your desktop. I don't want it really on the desktop, but you can do it on the desktop for the time being. He always does it temporarily on the desktop, and he stays forever on the desktop. He's laughing. But that's good. You already have a nice little base, and I'll tell you all about it. But this is golden. This is closer to the truth. It's amazing. But well, the tab number 2 that we needed to open, we didn't really need it. I don't really need it. I don't think it's important anymore. You've got everything you need on this property card. You can be, you know, a little dig more into it and see what's the zoning. It's a zoning code L1%, 100. I have no idea what this means. But this gives you most of the information you're gonna need. Right? So that's it. We've looked at Google Earth, we've looked at our initial consultation information, and we've looked at our property card. Are we ready to draft some massings? I think we are. All right, so that's gonna be the next video, and we're gonna pause this one. Please watch the next one on this series coming next.